Come, sit with me for a spell. What is a spell? Oh, I'm sure it conjures up all kinds of images. Allow that to transpire. We'll get to the astrology for this week. But first, a long time ago, I was invited on a trajectory that informed me there is an aspect to being that is most effectively expressed as soul. In the investigation along this trajectory, I have come to realize each of us has soul as an inherent part of our makeup. Recognized or not, it still exists. How attuned we become to this aspect of ourselves is part of the, what should we call it, homework of what it means to be incarnate here and now. Oh, yes, the distractions that the world offers to us in each moment, seemingly never ending. This is important. That's important. This, that, the other thing. Does your soul tune into that or not? I set up, or actually, I think soul set up for me in this life the capability, the query, if you were, as to how is it that this version of soul that inspires me so dynamically can be enhanced and opened up within each of us and between us as we do this life dance in this physical realm and yet become so much more than what it is the physical dance seems to hold for us. This week, now for some astrology with a twist. We begin with a full moon, 14 degrees of Aries. It isn't, I don't have that queued up, but moon moves 12 to 13 degrees a day. The sun opposite it will be over here at 14 degrees of Libra. This dynamic opposition is what this week begins with. That full radiant reflection of the solar light as it passes overhead on this Monday evening. Here on the West Coast, it'll be around 9 o'clock this evening. Adjust that for your own zone. So, what does a full moon stand for? Have the sun, a vitality of masculine kind of energy, and the moon, the reflected quality of uh, feminine awareness, a sensing capacity to feel things. This opposition, which is a tension, if you will, that's always in play in oppositions, is asking us, where can we find, with assistance, some commonality of energy equation that we might be able to tune into in a blended fashion? What these two celestial bodies are asking us to consider. It's a full moon, you know, the feelings, which, while not generally inclined toward the Aries archetype of, that warrior essence, might be able to be seen from a reflective perspective, that it isn't just a warrior trying to conquer everything that is essentially Aries. Aries, with that same energy, can be the essence of protection that is being tuned into and offered in a particular moment where something needs to be cared for. Have you ever thought of that dynamism, of the use of this Aryan warrior essence? I have come to be new in this moment, Aries speaking. And in that newness, I am sensing that something here is awakening. And in that awakening process needs to be enfolded in a level of care and protection so that it may continue to do that, awakening, nurturing process of becoming. And this full moon, opposite from Libra over there where the sun is, saying, self Aries, Libra other. Where might we be able to enhance, if you will, the energy quotient that the inclusion of otherness brings into this full moon awareness of what part of you might need that or require that care in what is being allowed to unfold between us, so that this full moon awakening, maximum reflection of solar vitality, light, back to that night part of the earth, to remind it that We are in a cyclic dance all the time. There are strong moments, weak moments, light moments, dark moments. This Monday, we have maximum sunlight during the day, unless you live in the Northwest where it might be cloudy and rainy, and then maximum reflected sunlight at night. Can you sense an uptick in the energy quotient available as we begin this week? What do the Sabian symbols have to say about this solar lunar dance? Put myself down here on the screen as well. The Sabian symbol for this sun at that center part of Aries. Can you feel a maximum kind of energy availability? It reads, an Indian weaving a ceremonial blanket. And the keynote, projecting into everyday living the realization of wholeness and fulfillment. If you think of the cycle of that sun-moon dance, as the new moon begins, a new cycle is being initiated. And all during the waxing part of the cycle, as it's getting fuller and fuller each night, you are moving through the intentions you set at that new moon toward the awareness of complete recognition or substantial recognition, at least, of what your intention is. Full moon, maximum potential light shining on what that intention was. And you have to ask yourself, was I successful in making sure that that intention was core and center of what I was focused on as this lunar cycle was growing? Further reading on this Sabian symbol. In Christian tradition, one hears of Jesus' seamless robe. In Asia, one is told of the spiritual vesture of the perfect ones. The man who has attained the spiritual state is figuratively robed in the universe, and more precisely, in the Milky Way. The great white robe of interwoven stars. This is the ultimate kind of weaving. There is also Penelope's weaving and unweaving, waiting for the return of her polarizing mate. The mind of the American woman in which these symbols took concrete form could think only of Indian weavers. For the white man, who is hungering for symbols of a state of living in total harmony with the universe, the traditional Indian can be glamorized as the answer to the inner emptiness of the city dwellers, surfeited with artificial values. At any rate, we may thus prefigure a future state of fulfillment in conscious harmony and unpossessive love. In this symbol comes the consciousness of the inquirer after meaning, deliberately or through the aleatory act of revelation, like the act of throwing sticks to obtain an I Ching symbol, implied as the profound fact that every individual has as his ultimate conscious task the weaving of his immortal body, his Gnostic robe of glory. It may sound very mystical and far out, but there is a moment in every cycle when, in however small a degree, every individual may be confronted with the potentiality of a fulfilling act of self-realization, and may ever so relatively find him or herself clothed in light for an instant. We are told by it that the fulfillment of desire is a possibility at whatever level and in however incomplete a manner it may be experienced. Feel the dance of life on this Monday full moon night. And now let's reflect across to the other side where that solar orb is currently at the full moon, hiding on the opposite side of the earth. The Sabian symbol for that reads circular paths. In the keynote, coming to terms with the inevitability of establishing steady rhythms of social activity. Do you feel that potential Libra interactive, camaraderie, partnership experience that Libra's bringing to this consideration? Further reading. In his early course, symbolical astrology, Mark Edmund Jones sought to concretize this abstract image, speaking of machinery parts, new and circular. It is far better, however, to face the image in its most general sense, as he himself did later on. It is because everyday activities, whether in the home or in business, inevitably tend to repeat themselves in circular fashion, that it is necessary for the individual, lost my place, to have rest time during which he can be released from repetitive patterns. It is only when the individual has become fully attuned to, and in a sense identified with, the vast planetary and cosmic rhythms of the universe, and thus free from emotional and group tensions, that he can act serenely and at peace along circular paths. Here we find an abstract image, which can be interpreted in a positive or negative manner. We deal with repetitive activity, but that activity may either bind or free the consciousness of the actor. It can mean boredom or transpersonal peace in action. On this very same day, you know, Mercury, our capacity to communicate, think, also the symbol for commerce, moves from this last degree of Libra into Scorpio. Let's do this more gently. There. At noonish time, Mercury moves from Libra into Scorpio. And at this point, it's forming a square over here to Pluto, also moving into a very, very close yod pattern with the sextile between Neptune and Uranus, both retrograde, which I have talked about before. You know, the potential harmonization of that unpredictable Uranian energy as it engages with the unlimited creative capacity of Neptune's imagination. They're at the very beginning part of Aries. What is that seed that is being planted right now? Is it creative enough to be able to what? Open up soul awareness in its developmental process? Might there be a sudden awakening? There's Uranus in Gemini saying, I feel like something is going to erupt here. And creative imagination is saying, from Neptune's perspective, yes, let's allow something deep, profound, and new to be born in this moment. Anyway, that's sextile, forming the yod to the focus of Mercury up there just entering Scorpio. Has to, brings that sextile into focus, is you have to ask yourself, Mercury, the messenger of the gods, has the capacity to traverse the energy between the earth realms, the God realms, and the hell realms. It is the only being that has that facility to accomplish movement up and down the variety of potential places of energetic interaction. Having just entered Scorpio, life, death, rebirth, and, to add just this little extra exquisite factor that Mercury also moves into a square with Pluto, the other planet that has a strong, strong, energetic, intertwined connection with Scorpio, the hell realms. I, that can act in a way that doesn't really play out the potential for the depth of awareness that is capable as an offspin from how we interacted with each other, Libra, and what the ramifications of taking that a next step further, which is Scorpio, as to what are the shared resources that were developed, you know, as, you know, an interaction with one another, Libra, that have come into this Scorpio zone to actually ferret out a much deeper and more profound level of investigation into life's mysteries. Welcome. Mercury's curiosity here. Yeah, it's in a square to Pluto, right there at the very beginning of Aquarius, which Aquarius brings into the equation. What are the social ramifications of what is going to transpire when you get together with a group of your peers who are easily to be considered your cosmic tribe? Yeah, it's a square. There may be tension in the air, but tension, is it not the possibility of something transpiring if you willingly face the challenges that are being presented there? It isn't just automatically considered bad just because it's a square. It just means that you might have to work a little more dynamically to grasp what it is that is the message, the lesson in that moment that is saying, if you wake up to this challenge, you will potentially have a deeper, more profound level of awareness into the interaction of the life death process. And as a natural ramification of that, you might actually discover the rebirthing equation. In other words, something has to die or pass away in order for there to be room for something new to be birthed, providing new space, new opportunity. So, Mercury coming into Scorpio, this is a dynamic energy that we're going into this week. And then we come to, whoop, well, we can do this on the slow route. Let's go back to our daily jumps. Daily jumps. Venus, right over here. It's moving along. And as we move through the week, oh, I'm still in hours. I was going to say, these planets are just not moving fast enough. There we go. Ah, yes, that's what we're looking for. Thursday, you can kind of see the moon down here in Taurus, which means that, and it's at 21 degrees. So the next day, it's going to move into Uranus. And when it does so, when it's going through Gemini and Cancer, it moves to its out of bounds dance. And, just for a little extra flavor, it immediately is holding hands with Uranus. Whoa, unpredictability in our capacity to feel and in Gemini, think, communicate with one another. And Mercury, the ruler of this Gemini moon, it's doing the dance up here in Scorpio. Might there be questions of a more profound level that, boom, in a Uranus moon out of bounds fashion, suddenly wake up and say, hey, are you paying attention to this? This is Friday we're talking about now. Beginning of the week, we had that full moon setting us on a trajectory if we're but willing to actually investigate the deeper meaning of what it is that we as soul beings have come to facilitate with each other in this life dance here on earth. Friday, that out of bounds moon and Mercury up there in Scorpio saying, might it be required that an aspect of your oh so important everyday life need to be let go of or released in some fashion so that something new can find a foothold within you that might awaken a soul aspect that you came to bring as medicine for others? Part of the reason why we incarnate on earth is to develop that individual soul process with one another in the development of the larger soul perspective over all souls, over soul, if you will. Venus moves into opposition on Saturday with Saturn across this Virgo, the realm of the mental. And it's Venus we're talking about. The requirement for a mentor to have people who are interested in following a trajectory that the teacher has said, you might want to try this path for a while to see if it fits. And Pisces over here, Saturn, life lessons, very important in opposition to that Venus saying, am I clear? I mean, really clear with Venus, those others that are on my wavelength. Are we sharing meaningful context in a Piscean level, the deepest, most profound oceanic level of awareness, lesson in life that is beckoning us to wake up to our souls? This is a magical moment if we but willingly step into the path and follow that. That's all I got for this week. There's a lot of potential here. And I would invite you that if things appear in some fashion to intensify, what was that thing that was talked about in that solar part of the full moon? Take a nap, rest, clear the mind. Actually, clear the brain. The mind, I don't know if it ever really clears. It's huge, so much more enormous than the brain. In this life dance, take those reflective moments and ask your soul, am I on the path that I am supposed to be on? Are others in some fashion recognizing that we are each souls and we came to share something with one another quite specifically to grow each of us and all those on our wavelength. Okay, I've given you a little bit of homework for the week. Ciao. That's all I got for this week. See you next week.